Hi, I'm Sandy,
And I'm Trina.
and we are here today to discuss a pretty serious topic.
Yeah,
So let's talk about it.
let's talk about it. So, yeah, as we always start, that Sandy and I will have our own conversations and, it'll just lead to something else. And one of our conversations we had most recent was about how difficult conversations are. So, we had a conversation about the difficulties of conversation. And what we thought about was the difficulty in having a conversation about our loved one that's passed on. And so it could just be depending on the situation, depending on who's left to have the conversation, who's talking about it. It could be difficult, that conversation. Um,
It can
you
be
want to?
very difficult. I'll give you an example for a conversation to be had about what someone's wishes are once they're gone. Most people don't typically have those conversations.
Mhm.
And then there are those who have those conversations and are very clear on their wishes. Today, we're talking about that area where it's not real clear or there's a lot of gray area.
Mhm.
And when you have to make those decisions, not alone, but with someone else,
Mhm.
changes the dynamics of how you come to the final decision of whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, it could be difficult if, especially if, let's say, let's just use a religion as one topic of difficulty. Now, I am of one faith and you are of another faith, and we have our own ideals about rituals attached to that faith, rituals attached to even the services. We can just
Mm-hmm.
that in itself of what my normal practice would be.
You might want to be buried. I might want to be cremated. I
Yeah.
didn't really make that clear. Maybe I told a couple of people, but it was never a conversation I shared with everyone. So you may have heard me mention it before,
Hmm.
and the person who also has to decide how this is going to go, I've never heard her say that.
Yeah. Very difficult conversation it could be. And one of the things that I know has come up is that we think that we could leave all of these arrangements to the people living, that they would respect the wishes of the person that has passed on. But the person that's passed on has just done just that. They've passed on. The decision making is now with somebody else, possibly
Right.
some siblings or some other people, that are tasked now with making the decision.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not on the same page,
Or they just see it differently.
yeah,
You could say, "Well, I knew this person very well," and you could say the same. You
yeah,
knew this person very well. Does not mean that you both view the wishes to be the same or
yeah,
what you think this person would
with
want,
what, yeah,
right? And so, how do you pull that together? How do we both want the same end result,
yeah.
but how do we get there?
How do we get there? It does take us some giving up of some things, right? So just to get there, let's just if we focus on just having a service
Mm-hmm.
for someone that has passed on. We have different ideologies, different belief systems, and just different religion rituals. We already got it's difficult. This conversation is going to be difficult. And so, like you said, we're looking for the same results, but at the end of the day, we're different. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're expecting different things. So it could be a very difficult conversation.
And we bring this up because it's a very realistic, very real. It sounds a little maybe even pretentious, or who would be arguing at a time like this, or who would be disagreeing at a time like this. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be
Well,
surprised what even the menu agreeing on what we're going to serve at a repast can cause some chaos.
yeah.
So this is why we're talking about it, because what you see for someone else might not necessarily be what, if you have to share the decision,
Hmm.
what the other person might see. So it is an
Yeah.
important topic to talk about.
Yeah. It's something that you want to, you know, at least have a difficult conversation
Mm-hmm.
about, right? But even if you do, sometimes you again, the person might leave, like Sandy said, just specific instructions about what they want to happen, how they want it to happen, and it might just be carried out. Let's do it. Let's do it exactly like this person would have expected us to do it in the same way. They've made even their own arrangements, and I heard you say in our discussion that some people will set it up that you just need to show up.
You just need to show up. There's nothing to be done. Everything, all the arrangements, all the difficulties have been sorted out prior to their passing, and there's no need for any input from anyone.
Yeah.
And that's great in those situations.
Yeah.
I have two children, and I don't want my two children to fall out or be at odds over decision making of what they want for me if I have not been clear on those instructions. And because I know both of my children love me so much, they would be very passionate about what they each believe I would want.
Mm-hmm.
So we are suggesting and we recommend that those difficult conversations be introduced in your family about yourself, about those around you that you feel comfortable having with, that it really is necessary.
Yeah, I agree. It's necessary.
It's necessary.
And that said, it's necessary whether you are in sync or not. It's a difficult conversation. Most people just don't even want to talk about.
Right.
Well, if something were to happen to me, here are my wishes. And a lot of times it's too late because we'll like, not now. We're having a barbecue. We're having a good time. It's just never the right time to have the conversation, which is why there is this option we all know about. It's called a will. And you sit down and you write out your will. You write out what your wishes are, what you would like to see happen, what you would leave even for, those that, you are going to leave an inheritance for, or some kind of just trinkets. You have those kind of conversations.
And I have personally have been asked to oversee a couple of people wishes, and they have, if we're going in order, I would not be the second person to them. I'm kind of further along down the line. But they felt it would be less stressful for the ones who are very close to them to be able to carry this out. So, another food for thought. And it doesn't have to be complicated. This person simply typed up an email and is time stamped, is date stamped. They had it notarized. It says what they want, and they're very clear, and they're not really, I don't have a lot, so there's not a lot to go through, but what I do have, I want it to be clear. And that's fine too. But I was very proud of the fact that this person took the time and decided, even if I don't have much, I don't want there to be any uncertainty of how I would like this to be carried out. And so that's why we really want to encourage you, whether it's the list is short or 10 pages long. Still, it's so nice to know that your business is taken care of when you go, because there's a peace for me about that. I think there's some peace as I live to know in my time of passing that won't be something that my family, my children will be burdened with.
I just heard this story from someone else, though, that the kids were in disagreement about what should happen to their mom. And I mean, it was a huge disagreement, and they didn't have the conversation. But one person took the initiative to set up, make things, put things in place, and went step by step, kept trying to include the others. However, this is the date, this is a place, this is what's going to transpire. And I don't know exactly in detail what happened. What I know is that they had to cancel the service. And for me, in my whole lifetime, I'd not ever heard of somebody having funeral plans and then there's somebody who stepped up and claimed themselves as next of kin, and that the whole ordeal was not
That's heavy.
something that was going to be taking
That's
place.
heavy.
So it's not just that you're honoring somebody's wishes, even if you don't know the wishes, it's
Right.
honoring those that are left with
Right.
the respect
Right.
of each other.
Right.
Even if it's not to respect the wishes of that person,
Absolutely.
you definitely have
Absolutely.
you're grieving.
And you can't say, well, take the emotion out of it because you're filled with emotion.
Filled with
I mean,
emotion.
if there's any time, one situation you're not going to be able to take that emotion out, it's in this.
Yes.
And then some people just go numb. Some people, you might say, you know what, you go ahead, you handle it, you take care of it. You might, that might be something that they just don't or can't partake in.
Yeah.
And so there's many different facets of it, but we want you to take the time and think about this conversation.
Yeah.
And let it be a conversation that you have with someone that you love.
Yeah. Get past the differences.
Yes.
But also know that the conversation might be difficult, but at the end of the day, talking about it will help you down the line, because grief will impact and impede your whole every emotion you have. And so you would hear that as a takeover for some people, or you might hear it as just this docile person that wants no parts of the experience. So either way, we want you to, we're going to give you an assignment. We want you to have a conversation about your own wishes, even though you might be postured in grief right now. In some point, make it clear what your wishes are. If you can't articulate it to someone, sit down and we already at one point gave you an assignment to write your own obituary, but now we want you to write your own plans.
Right.
And that's your homework, to just say, I'd like it in a church. I'd like just, if you could, even if you can get down to the details of the colors, if you like, I'd like you all to wear blue. I'd like you all not to cry. I'd like it to be a celebration of my life. Or some people might say cry very hard, right? Whatever it is that you would like to see happen. And you could just write something as simple as an email and just plan out what your wishes are, so that the conversations that might be very difficult could at least be had with your own voice involved, and then keeping, your family together.
Well said, Trina. I mean, that's really the gist of it. And we just hope that you know that we are really wishing you well on this conversation, because we know how difficult this conversation can and will be. So, on that note, friends, don't forget to click and share if you like what you heard. Please give us your feedback. We'd love to hear any suggestions or stories that you've experienced and want us to talk about. We would love to do that for you.
Yes.
And until next time, don't forget to find your lighthouse.
It'll help you find your way out of the darkness.
Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.